What's up YouTube, Jeff back again today. Another very exciting Samsung video for you guys. Today, going to be talking about Galaxy Z Fold 5, top 5 problems and how to solve them. Now, of course, this is not saying the Z Fold 5 is a bad device, but with every device, there's always some complaints I get in the comment section from people who want to know kind of how they can fix a particular issue, etc. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Some common things that come up in the comments that I might be able to help people with. Before we get started, I do want to thank my son Jonathan who gave us a couple of nice sea creatures to hang out with. He does love the dinos, but he's also getting into the sea creatures now. We got the humpback whale and the blue shark. Always appreciate that. Let me stand the shark up properly. And also, if you guys haven't yet, make sure you sign up for my newsletter. The link will be in the pinned comment description. You can get information about all of our mystery boxes that we do, where we give out free products at the Samsung launch if you pre-order a phone from Samsung. Also get updates on the latest customization, wallpapers, icon packs, to give away some codes to the apps by my friend One4Studio. Who makes the wallpaper pack, the wallpaper I'm using today, and almost all the icons you guys see on the channel. So sign up for the newsletter to stay up to date with that. So let's talk about the top 5 problems. The first one that I always hear about in the comments with every phone launch is battery life. And of course, on the Samsung phones, there's a couple of things you can do to mitigate battery life problems. A couple of them are obvious, and maybe a few of them are not as obvious to people. Of course, the obvious thing you can do is go into the battery and device care setting. And when you go in here, there's a couple of key things that you can do. One of them, which is actually related to a couple of different problems I'm going to talk about today, is make sure you have the auto optimization turned on. This makes sure your device is running smoothly. Can also mitigate issues with app crashes and things like that that can cause battery life problems. And then if you go into the battery life menu, a few things you can check. You can go into background usage limits. Make sure if you want to get maximum battery life that you have the put unused apps to sleep. But it is also important to know that this is a setting that can also delay some of your notifications for your social media and things like that. So if you don't get those notifications in real time and you're wondering why, that's also a possible reason why. It all depends on if it's your primary device and you really need that information at the end of the day. You can see down here, right down here, it actually tells you this now, which is interesting. That's really kind of cool. You can see right here, when you go to check, it shows you which ones are in deep sleep. That way you know if you're really missing out on important notifications, because they didn't used to warn you about that, which is nice that they do now. The next thing is down here at the bottom, you go to more battery settings. You can change your adaptive battery, make sure that's switched on. You can change your performance profile from standard to light, which will definitely save you a ton of battery. That's one of the biggest things you can do. And it doesn't really affect your day-to-day performance. And then back here, you can also then, if you have a situation where you're really running low on battery and you need to really get out some juice for texting, for calls, whatever, you have some emergencies, you can turn on power saving mode, which will turn off always on display, limit the CPU speed, decrease brightness. You can even limit your apps in home screen, and you can get up to 5 days battery life by doing that. Of course, that's kind of the last second thing. Now, there's also one other setting that applies to battery. If you go into the app settings, you can also change apps battery settings on a per app basis. So if you go into or Chrome, for instance, and scroll down to battery, you have unrestricted, optimized, and restricted. So you can actually choose how the app behaves with respect to draining battery. Now, if you do want notifications, right, from real-time notifications like Facebook, Twitter, in addition to turning off the setting that I showed you in the battery menu, you would also want to turn this on unrestricted. But that will also give you much worse battery life. So you kind of have to choose. You can do this on a per app basis though. So you don't have to necessarily do it for all the apps at one time. You can do it on a per app basis to make sure you get the perfect kind of combination of real-time notifications and battery life. Okay, up next is one-handed use. So this is a big phone. Obviously, if you bought a Z Fold 5, you probably wanted a big phone that is basically a miniature tablet, but sometimes it can be difficult to use with one hand. There's a couple of things you can do to mitigate that. The first one is one that's actually baked right into the settings, and it's called one-handed mode. What this allows you to do is it's under advanced features, and if you do turn it on, it shows you right here that you temporarily scale down the display size for easier control of your phone with just one hand. Swipe down the center of the bottom edge of the screen. So basically, if you're on the home screen here, you swipe down, and it's going to take you into this one-handed mode. You can also kind of go back, go forward in there, and also move this and scroll. You can also move it from side to side, however you need. It's going to stay at the bottom, so it can be one-handed, and then you'll exit one-handed mode, and then you'll be back in the regular mode. So that's one thing you can do. I personally don't like one-handed mode because it makes my display viewing area a little bit smaller, and I don't really like that. So a better option for me anyway is to use Samsung's Good Lock, which gives you a lot of helpful modules you can install, and use One Hand Operation Plus. One Hand Operation Plus basically lets you put these handles on the left and the right that can then easily trigger, important actions. Like if I swipe a long swipe, I get my quick toggles. If I do a diagonal down swipe, I get all access to all of these applications in like a little application tray. Lots of cool stuff. In fact, if I swipe diagonal up, it gives me the notification shade. So this allows me to use the phone in better one-handed mode. You can actually even set one-hand operation plus, and this is a really cool thing. One of the toggles, you could actually set your straight left to be, for instance, one-handed mode. So that's a really cool thing. You could actually open one-handed mode, it's actually right there, by using one-hand operation plus. So those two things can actually work hand in hand with one another to give you a better overall one-handed experience and just make the size of this phone a little bit more manageable. The third thing is full screen apps and app resizing. So for this, you do have to go into the display settings. If you scroll down, it's right here, full screen apps, which you see right there. Full screen apps basically tells you which apps will run in full screen here on the main screen. I usually just turn all of those to on. So some people say they don't get full screen for certain apps. If you don't have that on, then that's what's going to happen. The other thing is continuing apps on the cover screen, right? So continue apps on the cover screen, if you go down here, this will make sure that any app that you close, when you close your fold and go onto the cover screen, it's going to continue that app. The app continuity is really a big selling feature of having a foldable phone, and I usually just turn it on for all apps. Now there used to be a setting down here in the advanced features in the lab section where you could turn that on for all apps, but that's now been moved out. The only thing you really need to turn on in labs if you want to use all different apps in all the different features on the F Fold 5 is the multi-window for all apps. That'll allow you to use multitasking for all apps, even if they don't specifically support multitasking. The fourth thing is lag. Now lag is always a complaint on some Samsung phones. I've had no lag on the Fold 5. It's a beast, plenty of RAM, the software is great. But if you do have lag issues, a couple things you can do. The first one is the one I mentioned earlier. When you go into battery and device care, make sure you turn on the auto optimization, which will restart your phone when needed, which kind of clears out the cache, gets rid of some of those issues that are hanging around, so you can make sure it's running at the highest possible performance. And it does that overnight when you're sleeping. It learns your usage patterns, so you don't have to worry about interrupted for use. You're good to go. The other thing you can do is you can turn down the animations on your device. To do that, if you want to turn off the animations entirely, is to go to accessibilities, visibility enhancement, and then you can remove the animations entirely. So you see right here, that toggle will remove the animations. Now, if you just want to scale them down a little and not remove them entirely, you do have to go to developer options by tapping on your build number multiple times in About Phone. Once you're inside developer options, just scroll down. It's kind of far down the list. Scroll down until you see the animations. They're right here. Animation scale, you can do 0.5. Transition scale, 0.5. Animator duration scale, 0.5. This will definitely make your animations seem more zippy on your Fold. Now, on the Fold, I kind of like the in and out animations of the windows, so I've kind of left them on 1x, but it will definitely make it seem like you have less lag overall. The final thing is camera issues with shutter lag. That definitely occurs on Samsung phones still. One way that you can mitigate those type of issues is if you go into the settings on your Z Fold 5, scroll down, Camera Assistant from GoodLock is now built into the camera. If you go to Camera Assistant, you can turn on Quick Tap Shutter, which takes the photo as soon as you tap it. And you can also go in here and edit your prioritized focus over speed and check out the capture speed. If you want to capture things faster and have slightly less quality, you can kind of figure out which combination works the best for you. This does speed up some of the shutter lag a little bit. And there's also a new feature coming in One UI 6.0 that does that even more. So you guys can stay tuned for that. I'll talk about that more in my One UI 6.0 coverage. Anyway, that's the top 5 problems with the Z Fold 5, how to solve them or mitigate them. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification icon for future videos. Do subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't yet. Cool stuff over there. Free code sometimes with the icon packs. Any promotions we have on the channel. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.